It's time to hit the pick. Touchdown! Sports betting, fantasy football, and the latest NFL news. Featuring Loud Esmond and Christian Giordani. Bet on us to make you a better bettor.
What?
It's time to hit the pick.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another segment of Hit the Pick. I'm Christian Giordani. Alongside with me is Loud Esmond, co-founder of HitThePick.com. And joining us is the great white love machine, Sniper Wes.
Oh no!
Hey, can I explain?
Please do. I really want to know.
So I'm feeling pretty good. I'm taking a lady out for the second time. It's our second date tonight. And she's a very beautiful girl, I'll tell you what. And so, I'm kind of feeling pretty good about myself. And so why not? I'm going to go into the state with confidence, just like a starting quarterback. You got to be confident going into these wildcard games, right?
One of my favorite moments in the and there are a lot of. I can tell you, I think one of the greatest sports movies of all time is Moneyball.
Yeah,
it is an absolutely fantastic movie, and I love when the bunch of scouts are sitting around talking, and he goes, "Yeah, but the guy's got an ugly girlfriend."
Hey,
he looks at him and he says, "What does that have to do with anything?" He goes,
"No confidence.
Ugly girlfriend, low confidence."
Well, hey, I'll say if I do get to first base tonight, it doesn't matter if it's a single or a walk, according to Moneyball.
There you go. Absolutely.
Yep. As long as he gets on base.
Do we care? No, we don't. All right.
No, we do not.
Oh, that's right. It was no, we do not. Absolutely. All right. By the way, just some local sports at the top of the show here. The Ontario Strikers, who are within striking distance this year of being a playoff team. They're right in the middle of the pack in terms of potential playoffs. 3-3. They play tonight in Kansas City. That game just kicked off about 20 seconds ago. The line on this game was the Strikers plus 2.5 goals. And that's where I would have laid this tonight. Now, MSL Soccer, Underdog Sports, you can play fantasy and you can play some prop stuff with players in about 30 states. As far as actual betting legally on Major Arena Soccer League games, you're looking at Arizona, Colorado, Maryland, and Maine as the 4 states that you can currently go to Next Bets, NXTBETS, nextbets.com. Those lines are courtesy of Alt Sports, which, by the way, we had a great meeting with them this week, Snipe.
Yeah, looking forward to. We're actually going to do a bunch of cool stuff with them. I talked offline with Andy, the guy we had the meeting with, and it looks like there's a bunch of different opportunities and synergies, as he put it. So yeah, we're really looking forward to all that.
Yeah, so that Alt Sports. You want to give a quick description of what we're talking about there, because I'm already thinking about this, Wes. Football season's coming to an end.
Yes.
And so I'm starting to look at hockey betting. I'm starting to look at spring football already. And we're going to need stuff to kind of fill out the dance card for us degenerate sports gamblers. And NextBets, they offer that, Alt Sports, right?
Yes. So NextBets, and by the way, that's spelled NXT. There's no E. So NXT bets. And yeah, they have all kinds of lines. They have surfing lines. They have MASL lines. All the Power Slap League where you sit there and slap each other. They have odds.
Really?
They set odds on Power Slap. Yes. So.
Oh my God.
They have odds on all these sports. But here's the deal. Here's what I found very impressive: is they actually set the Vegas line for these sports. So DraftKings, they follow NextBets. NextBets sends all their data and analytical information over to DraftKings for DraftKings to post MASL lines, which I don't think DraftKings is there yet. Maybe within the next couple of months, they're going to be posting lines, but all the data comes from NextBets. So we're getting it straight from the horse's mouth, for lack of a better term.
Right. So we will talk about alternative sports in a few weeks. We'll have time to do all that. But of course, this is the biggest football weekend of the year by far. Congratulations to my Notre Dame Fighting Irish for closing out against Penn State last night. My local book here took a bath on that game. They really needed Penn State to win. nationally, there was a ton of late sharp money on Penn State.
Yeah. I was on Penn State. I lost. I was on the under. I lost. The game was 10-10 going into the fourth quarter, and it went over.
Yeah, and I was on the under as well. So.
Yeah, believe me, every street bookie and every book in Vegas and every offshore book got completely destroyed because what does the public do? First of all, the public bets Notre Dame, whether they're a dog or a favorite. The public bets Notre Dame, number one. Number two, what else do they bet? They bet the over.
They bet the over. Yeah.
So the Bucks got crushed last night.
I'm not crying for them. I'm look, I did a silly thing, which is you should never bet your fandom. And in this case, I bet on Penn State because
you hedged your bet.
No, I bet on Penn State. I'm like, okay, I don't want to be really mad if Notre Dame loses, and it's been a great season. And honestly, I was talking to a friend of mine who's a USC fan, who's a Notre Dame hater, and he always gives me crap about being a Notre Dame fan. And I said, look, Carlos, the fact that Notre Dame beat Georgia in a playoff game makes our season. I don't care what happens from there.
Yeah.
Because the bugaboo for the Irish program had been they can't beat the big physical SEC teams like Alabama and Georgia. They get pantsed on a national stage when they play any of those guys. And we freaking beat Georgia, and we beat them legit. I don't want to hear anything about a backup quarterback because that game was won and lost in the trenches, and Notre Dame won. And then last night, what's the Notre Dame script been? All season, it was the defense and opportunistic offense. And then once they got to the playoffs, it's been defense and an opportunistic defense and do just enough to win. Get the critical turnover. Get the critical play. Riley Leonard for Notre Dame threw 2 critical interceptions. Yeah. You know how many points Ohio State got off both those interceptions? 0.
Yeah.
So when the mistakes were made, the defense stepped up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whether Notre Dame can do that against Ohio State, who I think is likely to win this game and is up 7-0 already, I don't know.
Yeah, the only blemish on Notre Dame's season really is the NIU loss, number one. And it was funny because you and I we were doing that betting on the break show when they had lost that game. And I think that brought the record to 1-1. And you were like, oh, here we go again. Marcus Freeman, 1-1. We'll lose to NIU. And what do? They went out, right? So good for you. Good for you and the Irish. It's kind of funny, too. I mean, I know we were just kind of talking about State Farm and, all that stuff going on with the fires. We'll leave politics out of this. But have you guys noticed that Jake from State Farm guy, the new guy, the African-American guy, he looks just like Marcus Freeman. Like,
yes.
I saw that.
Young Marcus.
Also, too, so you and I, we have a text trail with all the guys loose. So we put out a poll. It was, who would you rather be today, James Franklin or the LSU head coach, Brian
Kelly?
Yeah, Brian Kelly. I mean, I don't know. I think I'd probably rather be James Franklin than Brian Kelly because he hasn't won all his games yet, right, Lou?
Brian Kelly has done nothing worthwhile at LSU, and they gave him that massive contract, and I think they're going to regret it. I just do. Anyway, all right. We haven't brought Christian into the show at all so far. Your LA Rams play the last.
Yes, they do.
Game. And that game is no longer a home game for the Rams.
No. With all the unfortunate and travesty happening in LA, SoFi Stadium is currently closed, so we're moving the game to Glendale, Arizona. The Cardinals are kind enough to lend their stadium, and we are hosting the Lions there. But before we get into that, we have 5 more games before then. We want to hop into those first.
Ironically,
I want to get a quick take from you, Christian, as an LA Rams fan. I don't think there's a huge home field advantage for most Los Angeles-based teams.
There's not.
The only in football, no, because the Chargers have always been a San Diego team, and it was such a weird move for them moving to Los Angeles. It was understandable, the reasonings, but nonetheless, it was very weird. And then I've been to SoFi Stadium. It's hard to fill it up with Ram fans. LA's a city of people not from Los Angeles originally, and it gets flooded with Niners fans, flooded with Raiders fans, flooded with Cowboys fans every time we go out. So, in the sense of we lose a home field advantage in fandom, yes, but these guys aren't in their homes eating home cooked meals from their wives. They're in a hotel right now, and they're stressed about their house burning down for most of the week.
Yeah. Yeah, I think McVay's house actually got burned down too, from what I heard. But, ironically too, this, we were just talking about State Farm. This game is going to State Farm Stadium.
Yeah, that is bizarre. State Farm pulls out, the Palisades burns down, and we're going to State Farm Stadium because it's a very strange.
I'll say this about the LA fandom. So I guarantee you this, there were already going to be more Vikings fans at SoFi than there were Rams fans. So going to Arizona, I don't think there's really going to be any difference, but there was a difference in the line. This was pretty much a pick 'em yesterday before they made that announcement. It was about a pick 'em, maybe a 1 point spread, but it's Minnesota's -2.5 now. So it did affect the point spread a little bit. So I will say that. In regards to this game, I'll give you my thoughts on this game since we're talking about it right now. I have it pulled up right here. So, Darnold, he had a terrible game last week, but I think he's going to bounce back here, to be honest with you. If you remember, the Rams and the Vikings played here in SoFi. It was a Thursday night game, and the Rams beat the Vikings. They beat them 30-20. So Minnesota does have film on them, and they should correct those mistakes. If you remember, too, Puka Nacua, he was not supposed to play, and then they activated him a couple hours before that game. In Minnesota, they were kind of scrambling in the locker room to come up with a game plan. And even Brian Flores said, yeah, we kind of were surprised by that Puka move, but this time we're going to be ready for Puka. So I think they're going to have a good game plan. I do like the Vikings here. I like them in SoFi. I like them in Arizona. I like them wherever they play this game. The public was actually on the Rams. I don't know if they still are now that they're, they've moved the game. But I got to roll with the Minnesota Vikings here. This team, if the Lions weren't so good, Minnesota would have won the division, and they'd be playing in Minnesota. All these games.
Wes, my outlook on life is rather dark.
That sounds about right.
When it comes to, say, the canon of Shakespeare's works, you have the comedies, you have the histories, and you have the tragedies. Let's just say I prefer the tragedies. I played Edmund in King Lear, the Bastard Son. I played Laertes to Hamlet. I was always the hard guy, the bad guy in those Shakespearean tragedies, never the hero. And so I have always had to see myself as the hero, even though I was the bad guy, because otherwise you can't play it with any honesty. I think this is a tragedy for Sam Darnold. I believe that this is going to end horrible. Imagine Sam Darnold has this magical run. He has that iconic moment after that win a couple weeks ago where he's lifted up on the shoulders of his team. People are chanting his name. And then he goes out into a must-win game against the Lions, and he shats the bed.
Yes.
Wherefore art thou, Sam Darnold? Yeah. And so, alas, Sam Darnold, I knew him well. Anyway,
where else are you going to get Shakespeare references on a sports show?
Yep.
To Darnold. Anyway, I strongly believe that Sam Darnold Christian, how much pressure is Sam Darnold under in this game? He had this magical run. He's this close to reclaiming his
status,
his status, a $35-50 million a year contract for 4 or 5 years. And he shat the bed in that last game. And now it all comes down to this game. If he wins, it's all right there. He's got the brass ring. If he loses and he plays badly, he may not even be with the Vikings next year because of J.J. McCarthy. It's literally, without him wanting to, all Sam Darnold's chips are pushed into the middle of the table, whether he likes it or not.
Now, this is what I will say about Sam Darnold and his performance last week and what that entails for this game on Sunday. Sam Darnold was a deer in headlights, folks.
Oh,
He
my
was
God.
so wide-eyed. He was running
It was
through his
bad.
motions at 2 times speed. It's just the moment was too big for Sam Darnold, and for lack of better words, Loud Esmond said he shat the bed.
He was seeing ghosts.
Yeah,
He was he was seeing ghosts, and I could think he will continue to see the ghosts of the Rams. Look, the Rams are they're a hungrier team. They have the only quarterback in the NFC that has actually won a championship. I believe they have one of the very few quarterbacks in the NFC to make it to a championship game. This is Sam Darnold's first playoff game, and if that game last week was any indication to what was going on tomorrow, I have the Rams on the points on the over and whatever it's going to be.
Yeah, I would. Okay, I'm not sure whether or not I'm going to have a premium play on this. I will just say this. I'm worried about Sam Darnold's future going into this game. All right, let's go.
Yeah, back.
To the Saturday early game and start there. Wes.
Well, we got I was saying this on another show we did, Loud. So nothing is truer in life than death, taxes, and the Houston Texans kicking off Wildcard weekend, right? It's happened, I think, 12 times. Every time the Texans make the playoffs,
it's crazy.
They always play the first game. The NFL always just deals them a bad card. But the Chargers are the better team. I think we can all agree on that. That's why they're favored, obviously, on the road. Houston, their defense isn't all that great, but they do have some reliable cornerback play, I will say. And the Texans, they do need to score points. Say what you want about C.J. Stroud. I get he's, a little bit of a sophomore slump. But this Chargers defense is nothing to write home about. The last month, they've struggled the second half of the year. They gave up 20 to the Raiders, and the Raiders were terrible, right? 27 to the Broncos, 40 to the Bucks. I get Stroud has no, Diggs, no Tank Dell, but I still think they're going to be able to move the ball. And I just think this is a game where the Texans hang tough. And I think they could even win this game. I wouldn't be surprised. But if you're going to give me 3 with Houston, I'm going to take 3 in Houston. They're, a home game for them. So.
What seed are the Chargers? Are they the 6?
5.
They're the 5. Okay. Just an interesting note I looked up earlier today. The number 7 seed almost never wins and almost never covers. And
the first time it happened was last year at Green Bay Packers. First time.
Yeah, the number 2 seed almost always wins and almost always covers, which means the Broncos and the Packers are doomed, and the Bills and the Eagles are going to win and cover, at least if trends continue. Not saying that's the way I'm betting or that's my pick. I'm just saying historically, if you look at the numbers and the trends, that's what it says. Man, I am shocked. Texas still, it's only 7-0 for as many opportunities. And the Strikers score first against the Kansas City Comets.
Is that on TV? Is that on TV? Wow.
Yes. By the way, you can catch several MASL games a week on Galazzo TV, which is on the CBS Sports streaming. They're a 24/7, 365 soccer app. So you have this game on tonight, and then tomorrow night there's another MASL game. So if you want to catch some MASL action, which is Sniper, you've been there. It's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun. So basically, you take soccer and you take hockey, and you put them in a jar, and you shake up the jar, and you have MASL. So basically, it's a hockey-sized rink where you play soccer, but there are power plays. So,
7-on-7 soccer.
Yes. So if there's a penalty, someone's got to go in the penalty box, just like a hockey player would, and they got to spin. It's probably 2 minutes, just like hockey, I would think.
And there are fights like there are in hockey, which is crazy.
Yeah, that I did not see, but I'd love to go to a whole game. I think that you and I had to cut out of there at halftime when we went.
Well, and it was an exhibition. It was
and it looked like a lot of fun. It looked like a lot of
USA Mexico, but when you get teams that don't like each other, that play each other all the time, it's just rivalries are rivalries. Okay, Pittsburgh and Baltimore. I said on a show the other night, I said, okay, so Pittsburgh got beat by Baltimore by 17 last time out. It was only a couple of weeks ago. What changes? But then I went and looked up the history between these two teams. Do you realize one of these teams has not beaten one of these teams by more than 7 points, except for this last game, in 8 years.
That's pretty crazy.
That is insane.
There has not been a more than 7-point difference in like 4 seasons or 6 seasons or something.
And it kind of seems like every Ravens Steelers game is like 18-16 also.
Right.
That always goes under.
And the Steelers beat them earlier this year. And, you know, if Russell Wilson doesn't fumble the ball going into the end zone, and if he doesn't throw that late interception, that game is 3 points either way.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, so the first
So
time
I don't want to be a prisoner of the moment. I'm not going to tell anybody, you know, bet on the trends, but it is what it is.
Yeah, so Baltimore actually did dominate both those games as it relates to the box score. I do get what you were saying. It could have been a much closer game for sure. The Steelers, they're just coming in hurt. They're licking their wounds, man. They lost 4 straight. In that game that Pittsburgh did win, Baltimore ran 20 fewer plays. So Pittsburgh had great clock management. That was, fault number 1 for the Ravens. And also Boswell hit all his field goals. He went 6 for 6 in field goals. And if you remember old reliable Justin Tucker, he missed 2 field goals in that game, and he struggled all year too. And you never know, that could be the difference of them winning by 7 or 10 and the spread's 9.5, right? So interesting thing there with Justin Tucker.
Well, I've seen some 10s and some 10.5s. Look, I'm not telling anybody how to bet on this particular game because I'm still not fully decided on it. Mm-hmm. But it seems like 10.5, given the history of these teams, isn't a bad idea. But then you look at Pittsburgh getting dominated in the last game, and you got to question that. Okay, all right, so we've covered the 2 Saturday games, correct?
Yes.
All right, so let me just give a quick check. It is still only 7-0, and the Empire Strikers are still up 1-0 with 1:20 left in the first. As I told everybody, my pick in that Empire Strikers Kansas City game was Strikers plus 2.5. It's odd that there's only been 1 goal scored in the whole first quarter because there's usually like 20 goals to 25 goals scored in an MASL game. So that's a defensive struggle right there.
Hey, we have 5 more minutes.
Just about.
Yeah, we better plow through these 3 games then.
Yeah, let's get
go ahead.
All right, we got Broncos and Bills.
I'll hit Broncos Bills real quick, and you can hit Packers Eagles, and then we'll collab on Commanders after that. So I like the over here. I'm rolling over with the Bills and the Broncos. The Broncos, actually, they've been pretty good against the spread. If you want to take a look at them against the spread, it's, I think it's up to 9.5. It opened at 8.5. Buffalo's caught a lot of steam, but Denver's 12-5 against the spread this year. So they covered numbers all year long. You made money if you bet on them.
Yeah, one of the best covered teams all year.
Yeah, they have regressed, though, in December. They've given up a lot of points in a couple games, but Josh Allen, obviously, is the MVP favorite. The Bills, they led the league in EPA per play, but the Bills, their defense has been declining too. They have not defended the pass very well at all. And Bo Nix, he can move the ball with his legs. So can Josh Allen. I think there's going to be a lot of points here. So I'm going over. I think it's 47.5 between the Broncos and the Bills.
Green Bay Packers and Philadelphia Eagles. I may have a premium play on this game. I haven't decided yet, but the one thing I can tell you is I am absolutely on Saquon Barkley going over whatever his rushing total is supposed to be. This guy has had something to prove all season long. I think Philadelphia is going to focus on making sure he gets his touches. Green Bay is not great against the run, and I think Green Bay is not going to be able to hold the ball very much. Christian Watson's out. The quarterback, Love, is a little bit dinged up. I think this is going to be a game where Philadelphia, especially with Jalen Hurts coming back from concussion protocol just today, they're going to lean on Barkley, and their Green Bay is going to stack the box and try to stop Barkley. And I think it's going to be like a boxer, body blow, body blow, body blow, body blow. And by the middle of the third quarter, Saquon's going to run wild.
Yeah, just to add on what you said, Loud, Green Bay's also missing their all-pro caliber cornerback Jair Alexander for the rest of the playoffs as well. So just something to think about going into that game.
Yeah, I like the under here for the reasons that Loud said. They're going to want to run the ball, kill clock. And also, the total's gone under in 6 of Philly's last 8 games here in Lincoln Financial Field. So whenever they play here at home, the game goes under, and I think they're going to want to run the ball, kill clock. Jordan Love, too. I don't even know if he's healthy with that elbow injury from last week. So I'm going under.
He was throwing without a glove at practice, but how much of that is bravado, I don't know.
Yeah,
so
it's hard to get used to a glove, too, if you're not used to it.
Yeah.
All right, last game of the week, we got Commanders Bucks +3 Commanders so far.
Yeah, I'll hit it quick, and then I'll get your guys' thoughts on the way out. So, obviously, Jaden Daniels going to be Rookie of the Year. Fantastic season.
1 minute.
Fantastic receiver. I like the Commanders plus the 3 here. If you remember, Tampa blew out Washington in week 1, but they have a lot of film on them now. And Dan Quinn, I think he dials up a good game plan. So, I'm going Commanders plus 3. What do you think, Loud?
I love Tampa Bay to win. I want nothing to do with any points in this game.
I don't really have a dog in this fight. It's a game that I want to stay away from. Gun to my head. I'm taking the Bucks in this game. All right, everyone. This has been Hit the Pick. If you're in the LA area, please stay safe. Get away from the fires, and we will see you guys next week for the divisional round.